Bledsoe was arrested.
Patrick Montgomery was in court.
Jonathan Manapa will stay in federal custody.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So 41-year-old Ohio resident and Navy veteran Kenneth Thomas goes by his middle name of Joe. He also uses the moniker of Pianon online. Tells you what you need to know about him. And in the lead up to January 6th, he repeatedly posted violent memes online. They included bombs and lightning striking the Capitol. He also shared very detailed information about the Electoral College certification process. So he definitely understood the significance of January 6th. On that day, after he attended Donald Trump's speech, he walked with his wife and his daughter to the Capitol. And he smelled tear gas, so he told his family to, quote, get to safety because he felt something wasn't right. Yet he proceeded on. He entered the Capitol grounds, and in a live stream, he said that they were, quote, gonna storm the Capitol. He was then seen and heard yelling at the police. He pulled out a knife, and he was about to start cutting the inauguration tarp, but an officer stopped him, so they argued for a bit. And then Thomas was yelling at the police. He was telling them to stand down. He joined others in chanting traitors. A while later, after another member of the mob counted down from 10, Thomas and the others charged at the police. He charged at them full speed. He was pumping his arms. He raised his hands in front of him, and they say that he punched and or violently pushed his fists into an officer's chest. So that officer managed to push Thomas back. He kind of gathered himself. Then he did it again. He pumped his arms in the air, ran at the police line. Again, he shoved, or punched, violently pushed this officer, a second officer, in the chest. That officer successfully pushed Thomas back as well. So he has remained in the area for about another hour. He was berating the police, and he sent text messages during this time. He wrote, quote, "It's a fight at the Capitol. No violence from us. The cops are tear gas," 2 S's, pepper balls / spray, riot gear. We're just trying to push through their line. So the person responded back and asked, "You're pushing through to where?" And Thomas replied, quote, "Storming the Capitol." So approximately 30 minutes later, police were trying to move people off of the Upper West Terrace, and Thomas, again, moved to the front of the crowd. He started pushing against the officers and their shields, and one officer who Thomas was pushing against fell to the ground. He later recalled fearing that he was going to be trampled by the mob. And then Thomas was repeatedly yelling. He was yelling, "Hold the line." Then he and others turned their backs to the officers. They linked arms and they started pushing with their backs and with their full body weight into the police. Thomas continued to yell. He was yelling, "Hold the line" and "push." One officer said that they felt so crushed by Thomas and the others. They said, quote, "It felt like my lungs caving in. It felt like they couldn't expand. I couldn't breathe." A few minutes later, the police deployed pepper spray. So Thomas turned around, he pulled his sweatshirt hood over his head, and he body checked one of the officers while he was repeatedly yelling, "Hold the line, hold the fucking line." Thomas then grabbed a baton of another officer, and then he body checked the first officer again. So the police line moved forward. They were pushing Thomas and the others back, and he continued to push back on them, and he was screaming. The following day, Thomas posted on Facebook, quote, "This video is from the Capitol yesterday. After tear gas and multiple shots of irritants, I became a little less restrained. Judge all you want, but those that were there with the truest of intentions are our heroes to the Republic." So Thomas was arrested on May 26th of 2021, and in a second superseding indictment, he was charged with civil disorder, obstructing an official proceeding, 5 counts of assaulting officers, entering restricted grounds, 2 counts of disorderly conduct, and 2 counts of physical violence. Thomas refused a plea deal. He opted for a jury trial. And in June of 2023, he was found guilty of civil disorder, 4 counts of assaulting officers, entering restricted grounds, and disorderly conduct on restricted grounds. Based on the assault convictions, he faced up to 8 years in prison, 3 years of probation, and $250,000 in fines. And this time, the government actually requested a longer term. They asked for 109 months in prison, so just over 9 years, 3 years of probation, $2,000 in restitution, and a fine of $77,607. So that represents the money that he's made through donations and also corporate sponsorship. There are corporations sponsoring his prolific online BS postings. And you guys are not going to be shocked to hear he has a history of violence and poor judgment. Yeah, I know. So shocking. In 2003, Thomas was dismissed from the Navy because he received 3 non-judicial punishments. And in a document explaining his expulsion, it said that Thomas did not, quote, have the maturity or discipline necessary to succeed in the Navy. And the prosecutor noted that although Thomas repeatedly tells others he's a combat veteran, his military record does not reflect that. It does not show that he actually served in a combat zone. He was only in the Navy for 3 years. In 2004, Thomas was convicted of domestic battery. The following year, he was convicted on felony burglary charges. And then in 2014, he was arrested for unlawful possession of a firearm. However, he was convicted of a lesser charge of discharging a firearm within 500 feet of a dwelling. And while he was out on bond for these crimes, January 6 crimes, he lied to his pretrial officer and he violated the terms of his release. So in March of this year, Thomas asked, hey, can I attend one of my pretrial conferences remotely? I want to save money, right? Can't afford the travel, want to stay home and save money. So the court agreed to that. And then they later discovered that Thomas traveled to DC anyway. He attended an event with other January 6 defendants. So clearly, in so many ways, a direct violation of his terms of his pretrial release. The prosecutor also called him out for spending hundreds of hours online. They say literally he'll spend like 4 hours in the morning, 4 hours at night online making videos. This is following his arrest and his conviction. And he's downplaying his actions at the Capitol. He's framing January 6th as a setup. And in a video posted by Thomas, or one of the videos, I should say, he was mocking the officers who were attacked. He said, quote, let's give them PTSD by singing the national anthem. So U.S. District Judge Dabney Friedrich presided over Thomas' case, and unfortunately, I couldn't locate details about what was said at the sentencing hearing, but Thomas was sentenced to 58 months in prison, 3 years of probation, $2,000 in restitution, and a $20,000 fine. So not as much as I would have hoped for, but considering who the judge is, I was pleasantly surprised. Friedrich is a Trump appointee. She is notoriously lenient. So for her to give this guy almost 5 years, it's pretty tough. That is a tough sentence coming from her. And considering that he has been out on pretrial release, he will be locked up during the next election. So that is a very good thing. I will let you know if I hear any more. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please donate if you can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.